All right, all right, all right. Open court discussion 40 and over, single, degreed up, independent, and now looking for a black sperm donor. You know what day it is and what time it is. It's Monday night, live in the counselor's corner for another open court discussion. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the controversial counselor. Joining me is the big bad wolf, Herb Lewis.
Oh,
All right. As far as the others, you just never know who will pull up. But let's take a recap from this past Monday show. What is your determining factor in choosing a nice guy versus a bad boy? Well, what came out of this conversation was this is based on each individual and their perspective. Sometimes someone may appear good, but all wrong for you, and vice versa. So you just never know. It depends on what you call good. It's very subjective, and what do you call bad? But let's jump into tonight's topic. And like I said, 40 and over, single, degreed up, independent, and now looking for a black sperm donor. Now you're ready to settle down and get you a family, find you a man, and all that stuff. And you're on borrowed time, and you think, oh, I'll just go down to the sperm bank. Mm. Well, we're going to get into that on why that's not going to work. Um, so I am sure this discussion will go into many different variables. So we will only have two talking points. The second talking point: why does it seem like there is an age requirement for women to hold her man down when necessary? So that it was a post posted this week, and it seems like many of the women were saying, well, not at my age. So there's no room for a man if he happens to get laid off or he decides, hey, this is a perfect opportunity. This is something I always wanted to do. I'm going to jump into this program, but I may only be able to work part time or have to cut down my hours. Many of the women said they're not doing that. He should have did that shit earlier. He should have did that when he was younger. So so this is going to be interesting. I might need security backup. Is anybody available? Despite it all, please like and share our video, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. So here you have it. What's going on? What's new with you, Herb?
man, still, putting the final finishing touches on the roof. Tired as hell, but other than that, man, steady as she goes.
Okay. Okay. For me, it's the
I
same
got
thing.
no complaints, none whatsoever.
For me, it's the same thing. Working, grinding, trying to build my brand here. But before we dive into that conversation, and our faces might going to be blocked out because I just started playing with this, and I'm not one that's tech savvy, but I wanted to put up this image that I had. It was a post earlier this when was it, over the weekend or late last weekend, something maybe over the weekend, and got a lot of different feedback from this image. Um, Let me pull this up. So we might be blocked out until I, learn how to figure this stuff out. So this image right here. So I made a comment caption and said, "Let the babies be babies. Let them be babies." He got enough time to be a wannabe thug, and people, went in. Why is that thug that looks just like Urban Gear to me? What makes you think he's a thug? Yeah, I'm sorry. Looking at this image, the kid looks like he's about 3. I'm pretty sure a 3-year old ain't trying to rock no fur coat. They probably want some Pokemon, some um, jacket with a cartoon graphic on it. A lot of people dress, and what was interesting, some of the women had said they're trying. A woman dressed him and she did that because that's the image or that's the man that she's looking to get. So now she's trying to make her. We already had that subject. What was it called? What was it? What was the act for that herb? The
I can't
husband
recall that
boyfriend.
one. Yeah.
But I'm sorry. I just think this isn't age appropriate. I'm going to take it down and I'll pull it back up as people um, come back in. But Herb, what's your take on this picture, that image?
I recall that post, and the only question I have is this: if you walk into a boardroom or a meeting room at work, do you expect to see that style of dress on anybody in there? And if the answer is no, you got to ask yourself why. Because most of us know we're not walking into any meeting and we're going to see that. Construction meeting as well, even though he's wearing Timberlands. Timberlands aren't your normal construction boot because they don't have steel toes, at least most of the ones that I've ever known. And I own quite a few pair of Timberlands. So the question, like I said, the question that begs to be asked, why not? And I think a lot of people, when they try and quantify that as urban wear, don't actually understand what urban wear is. Urban wear, classically defined, is clothing that's suitable for the streets, suitable for everyday walking around, hanging out with your friends, doing things. I don't know too many people wearing fur coats in any kind of weather that's summer. That's just simply put, that's not happening. Now, I could see if he's wearing a synthetic sweatsuit, maybe a cloth sweatsuit or something of that nature. That I could understand. Yeah, that's more closely defined with urban wear. But fur coats, most people can't afford an authentic fur coat, let alone somebody his age. So one has to wonder what message and I'm going to say it, what message is the mother trying to convey?
Now, with that, some people came with the narrative saying maybe that's the way his father dresses, and he and the father dressed him and wanted him to look like him. I'm still not buying into that totally. And again, I'm looking at the age. I'm looking at the age. Just, fur coat, wife beater, long goat chain on. Like the Timberlands, nothing wrong with that, but just the whole jail pose and all that stuff. A lot of that stuff is we're grooming and putting this stuff in these kids' head. Typical 3, 4 year old. That's not what they're thinking about. That's not on their mind. But adult influences, the influences that we put out there and put in their head, and we wonder why we have some of the issues that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Hey y'all.
Hey, Shaughnessy, how you doing?
Good. Why are you laughing?
Because when I first saw it, I was like, "What in the world?" And
Oh,
for
because I can't even.
hold,
Yeah,
hold
I'm
on, hold
sorry.
on, hold on. You won't get the joke, but people that are my age will get the joke. It reminds me of the scene from the movie Cannonball Run with Jackie Chan in the car, and they turn on the infrared radar. That was what I thought when I first saw it. So for those of you who are Cannonball Run fans, you'll understand what I'm talking about. That's why I was like, "Huh, what in the world?" And I was like, "Oh, okay."
I
Hmm.
didn't know that reference. Nope.
Say it again.
I said I do not know that reference.
That's why I said those who it's an age appropriate reference for those who see. You got to see the movie Cannonball Run, which is actually a funny movie. Has a lot of classic actors and actresses in there. It's really is a funny movie. It's along the lines of Smokey and the Bandit and I can't remember the other one with Jackie Gleason in it, where he plays the sheriff Buford T. Justice. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
I gotta watch that movie.
Yeah, they're classics, man. I'm telling you, they're funny. They're classics, though.
What's going on with you, Shaughnessy?
Nothing nothing much. I'm about to turn my camera off because y'all know me. I'm always being mixy. So I'm gonna turn my camera. No face, no case.
Always got something with you.
Always, always. It wouldn't be me.
But
Nothing. Just got beat up at work the last couple of nights. That's all.
Oh damn.
oh,
Not
one of the
well. We
one of the
had.
patients.
Yes, they are. So one night, I think the whole weekend, Thursday. It started Thursday. Yeah, because today was day 4. No, today was day 3. No, day 4. Today was day. Well, last night. I'm sorry. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yes. So I worked 4 in a row. Thursday, psych patient going crazy. She beat like 10 of us up. It was like
Oh
10,
damn.
including security too. Everybody got beat up. Then
Wow.
on Friday, it wasn't even Halloween yet, and I mean we got slammed. We are the level 1 trauma center in the region, the only one.
Oh. Okay.
It got so bad though, we were going to start diverting to across the water to a level 2 because we literally had all of our we had it was so bad to the point we had GSWs in the hallway. So people that were shot in the hallway. Like we we couldn't it was a lot. It was a lot. We were just getting them stable and rolling them out. I mean, it was crazy. The OR, it's 6 emergency OR rooms, wasn't none. It was to the point. Typically, the nurses run with the key, hold the key. It was to the point we were having to find each other to get the key to swap off the key to throw the key. It was crazy. Same
Where
thing
are
with
you at? You're in the DMV area, aren't you?
I'm in Virginia Beach. This
Yo,
is
that's crazy.
it was wild. It was a wild weekend, and surprisingly, what was it? Last night when we left? No, yes, last night it was completely dead until 5 o'clock in the morning. Completely dead, and I mean it was a good thing. We all needed that break, but 5 o'clock in the morning it started. Our night shift didn't even stop taking traumas until 9. Like I didn't get to the parking lot until like 9:20.
Oh, that's yeah, yeah, yeah. That is definitely wild. Wow.
Be prepared for more issues like that as it hits November and the holiday season. People about to lose their minds.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of teens too. It's just like I don't know what it is. It's crazy because I get it. I'm not dumb. I've been 19 years old before, but I don't know why these kids are they're drinking. Like they're not just underage drinking. They are getting hammered. Like their alcohol levels. And they're like, what? How did they even get in the car to drive? I mean, they're getting injected and all that stuff. And it's like, be young, cool. Call a ride. Call a ride, please. Please call a ride. So it's just, these, I don't think any of these people, actually, to be quite honest, all of these issues or, different patients, they were between 16 and 32, I think is the oldest one.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, it was a wild weekend. But
Glad you survived it.
Yeah, buddy. Because I tell people there's certain things I'm not cut out for.
yeah. Why you pulling
Uh,
that boot? You need to brush it off?
you real low, Shaughnessy.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, but back to this little boy and his gel clothes and his fur coat. What if it was just a photo shoot?
I mean,
It's possible.
actually, it was an ad for a thing, but I turned it in, wanted to build up a discussion because I know people still dress. They'll put stuff like that on, but it was for It was for an ad, a clothing ad, but I
Okay.
ran with it. I ran
Right.
with it.
I
But I
got
know
you.
some people will do that, dress their kids like that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that out there and see what people would say, their responses.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't like how it's like blamed on the single mother and all of that other stuff because I see dads dress their children like that as well. That's to me that's the most I see when they're with their dad. They are fully and completely dressed with the hats and all that other good stuff.
And even with that, I think dads and mothers, like a lot of people, they're do they do this stuff and they want to post it, but it's a feeling or something that they're trying to get out of it. Even when I see these little kids, these Halloween costumes and all that, I'm like, these little kids do not know nothing about some of these characters they're getting dressed up as. They don't know these, but why can't they just you just take them to the store or ask them what they want to be and then create that costume? Quit coming up with this stuff that they have no idea who these characters are, but you're
Hmm.
doing it because you want to post it and get
I agree.
likes.
I do agree with that. I do agree on what would it be? Soliciting the children for your social media. Everybody wants their child to be YouTube stars or social media famous.
Yeah, and like okay, some of these movies was out in the 1990s. These characters and these kids, I mean, they went to school with that, and another kid said, "Who are you?" They couldn't even tell. They wouldn't even be able to tell who. They'd probably be like, shrug their shoulder. I don't know. My mommy told me to wear this.
But
My
on the
daddy told
other
me to wear
side of
this.
that,
Huh?
my children watch Cujo. I said on the other side of that, my children watch Cujo, which came out before I was even born, back to back to back to back. And I did not introduce them to that. They found it on their own.
That's not what he's saying. Though, what it is a difference if your child discovers something and they can articulate what it is that they're wearing. He's saying that the average kid and what they're wearing,
Hmm.
they can't tell you anything about it. So it's a difference
What are some
if
examples? I know. What is some?
Cinderella, Cinderella is at least 50, 60 years old. What sense would it make to
Hmm.
dress your daughter as Cinderella if she doesn't know the story of Cinderella? Conversely, what sense would it make to dress your son as the Hulk if your son doesn't know anything about the Hulk? It would make more sense to dress your child as a Pokemon character or somebody from SpongeBob or any of those other animated shows that are more to their age demographic as opposed to something that's from your age demographic or mine's Dave's and Anita's demographic. And that's one of the reasons why I don't watch a lot of these movies anymore. A lot of it's like Hollywood has ceased to be able to develop something from an original concept. So look at all the Transformer movies, all the Superman movies. 90% of your hero movies are remakes of things that were around 50, 60 years ago. There's literally no originality in Hollywood anymore. And this is what happens when you stifle children at a younger age. They they don't think abstract anymore. They don't they don't make believe. What's that? That realm doesn't exist anymore. Instead, everything's driven now to where it has to be LGBT inclusive, inclusive of anything that makes quote unquote the left feel good. It's no longer about what it is that you see, what it is that you want, what it is that you can develop. So just imagine, even the kerfuffle, if I can use that word, about having I think it was the Little Mermaid be black. All of that. I really didn't understand the whole to do about it. I thought it was overkill. I'm just like, okay, so they want to change the ethnicity of the Little Mermaid. What's the problem? Hollywood has been
I,
doing that since its inception.
and
Most
I
of the things that Hollywood has ever developed has been whitewashed. but nobody had a problem with it. All of a sudden, now they want to change the main character of a fictitious show to another color. And it was like people lost their minds. I was like, I don't get it. But that's part of the problem, though. I mean, the originality in Hollywood is being stifled.
And I could take it on another level, even with the urban, like far as the costume. Then we're gonna get off there. We're gonna give Anita a chance to come in, drop a few words, and then we'll get into to the subject. But even
Hey,
I,
Anita.
I've
Hi.
I've seen people dressed up, kids dressed up like as house parties. Kid and
Oh,
play
okay.
the
Understood. Gotcha.
Friday, Craig and Day Day. I mean,
Son,
those type of characters.
son.
Otis, the security guard from Martin, like these kids have no idea who these individuals are. So a lot of people just say, "Oh, it's cute. I'm gonna get a lot of likes on this and all that stuff." But this is for kids. These type of things is for kids. It's not for your grown ass. It's for kids to remember that. Yeah, I remember I was the whatever character is out now. I remember I was the Black Panther or whatever the case is. Whatever. I don't get caught up in all that stuff, but it's for them. It's not for you. If you want to be one of those characters, then you dress up and go to an adult party, and that's who you should be. But let kids be kids. All right. How you doing, Anita?
I'm okay. How was everybody?
Good, good.
So, Saturday, talking about inappropriate costumes in public. Saturday, me and my family went downtown Buffalo. We had, there was an event down there. It was an Alice in Wonderland theme. So, you download this app on your phone, and then it gives you, you have a starting point, and it gives you clues to where to find everything. And the next clue gives another clue. And, most people were dressed up as Alice in Wonderland characters or other characters. So after when we finally found everything, it took us like 4.5 hours of walking around downtown Buffalo.
Oh, damn.
It was interesting. It was a good way to explore Buffalo, you know, without like being bored of walking around for 4.5 hours. But when we were finally done, we went to Spot Coffee, and we saw these, I guess they were adults, I would say 18 and above, 18 to 20 something. They were dressed in like thongs and their ass cheeks were hanging out. I was like, oh my God, this is the middle of the day. There's families around. That to me was just inappropriate. To be like that when they know there's families walking around. And kids are impressionable. To me, that's not okay.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
You got
That's
people doing what
crazy.
people do, man.
And their mindset will be ain't that they didn't seen some booty before. Everybody.
Hmm.
Yeah, that and at amusement parks you see that too. And I'm just like, why did you wear the thong bathing suit, sweetheart?
I mean, these girls weren't even in bathing suits. It was like a thong.
Just like the sexy nurse, sexy cop.
It
All
was
the all
like
the
a thong bottom, and the upper
oh my
part was
god.
some kind of character.
Mm, mm, mm.
Oh, that's even worse.
The
Yeah, I was
fashion
like,
over the
come
fashion
on.
over costumes.
I was like, come on. They weren't even wearing nylon stockings, nothing.
Like
It
if
was,
that's the case, get two costumes, the family friendly and the one you can go out with your friends
Yeah.
with.
yeah, it was like the middle of the day. The event started at 9, but it was like a self walking thing, and we didn't get there till about, I don't know, 11:30, and you had till 5 to find all your clues and your points and everything. Um, and I mean, most people were dressed appropriately until we got to Spot Coffee and we saw people walking down Delaware Avenue. And I was like, that is so inappropriate. And I was with my 17-year-old niece and her boyfriend, and they're not like sexual yet. So they might think it's okay. It's to be like that in public. It's not even for Halloween, like, yeah, go to an adult thing and dress like that. It's fine if that's how you want to rock it, but I just can't believe that they would think it's okay.
Simply don't
Yeah.
care. All
Nope.
right. We're going to get into dive into this conversation now. The first segment, again, 40 and over, could be 35 to 40 and over, single, degreed up, independent, and now looking for a sperm donor, black sperm donor. What you gonna do? And,
I mm, go ahead.
oh, I just threw it out there. I just sort of like
That's
word association. Like, what's your thoughts?
that's confusing to me because in one part of it, I understand the desire to want to be established for yourself and go after and accomplish your dreams first before having a partner and being a helpmate to somebody else, because when you are young and when you are trying to establish yourself, you don't always have the time to be that helpmate to that person. And I think it's a lot harder the opposite way when you get into these long, and if it happens, it happens. But when you get into these long term relationships, you don't really know who you are. You're still searching for yourself and who you're going to be, and your career may change, your thoughts and your desires may change. So if you're under 30, I'll say, I'll say 20 to 30, and you're having children and you have a partner and things like that, I think a lot of times that's when some couples get into issues because things change. And it's not because they don't get along or, always somebody cheated. Our desires are different. So once you get to that age of 30 and over, or 32 and over, 35 and over, and you're established, you have your career, et cetera, it is, why is it not okay to then build your family?
Because the average woman at that age, she's not looking to build a family in the quintessential definition of a family. She's doing that external of a man. And when you do that as a woman, you're not a family. See, this is the problem when society is playing with the definition of family. They no longer consider family a man, woman, and children. They consider family a woman and children. This is part of the issue that Black Lives Matter had when they put forward their manifesto. Anything that had something to do with heterosexual men, they didn't want. So when you're
Mm,
taking out a major component of what a family is supposed to be in your green light and everything that's gynocentric friendly and gay, I want to say gay acceptable, but alternative life acceptable, you're essentially marginalizing a percentage of the population. And you're saying that they aren't needed. This comes back around to what I was saying last week about black men not donating sperm. If you're going to say that heterosexual men aren't necessary for a family, then why seek their sperm? This is how modern women have put themselves in a corner, and now they don't have any way to get out because they've gone ahead. They achieved a modicum of educational success, whether that be bachelor's, master's, or doctorate, or how many ever post-secondary degrees they accumulate. They still don't have the major component to build a family. So now they think they'll be able to run off to a sperm bank until they realize that what they want in terms of a sperm donor isn't available. So
Such as
now
what do you think women are looking for in terms of a sperm donor?
they're looking for a particular type of sperm of an individual who has a certain height, certain IQ requirement, because all this stuff is recorded when the man donates. So when they don't get that in a black man, this is we're specifically speaking of African American males, they're compelled to look for that in another donor.
I don't think that's accurate because just because a man has an IQ, a high IQ, doesn't mean that, or a low IQ doesn't mean that your child has to have a low IQ.
No, 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 no. You're making an association. I'm not making an association. I'm saying that's what they're looking for.
But if they thought about it, just because a man has a low IQ doesn't mean that your child is going to have a low IQ. I understand what you're saying as far as what they're looking for.
Let me put it to you like this, Anita. You're talking about a demographic who naturally has eyebrows. They will shave them off and they will pencil them back on. This is the mindset you're dealing with when you're talking about they. This is why I try and preface the decision making isn't based on logical thought.
All right.
I
And
disagree with your whole concept of what a family is
It's
because
not. It's not my concept. Go
it
back
is
and look
a
at
concept. The
go look at
standard
the.
national American family has changed along with
Hold on. What did you just say?
the standard national American family definition has changed with
Has
each
changed from what?
has changed from what it used to be because
And
now
why is that?
same-sex marriage is allowed. You can have interracial relationships and marriages. So as time and our culture is changing, so is the definition of what a family is considered. And
Okay, that's
that's not just in our culture, that's in other countries too.
okay. So when okay, let's take that and run with it. So when you have two people of the same gender in the family, and that child eventually gets to a point where they ask you, "How was I born?" How do you answer that question? Using
Exactly
that using the dynamics of that particular family.
exactly how it happened.
Of a same sex marriage.
Yes.
Uh,
Why would a child, I understand why a child could question that, but at the same time, like, they're here whether through adoption, um, fostering a child to adoption, or using a sperm bank, or using, say, with two women, using like a friend or a, somebody that they know for their sperm. I mean,
So
it
are
can
you
be presented however those parents feel fit to present it.
so
There's
are
no
you
right
are
or
you
wrong way to present how it happened. It's up to those parents and the maturity or the comprehension of their child.
So are you saying that using the immediate demographics of that family, that they would not be able to tell that child how he or she was biologically created, using just the demographics in that family?
No,
yeah,
I'm saying that the
I
parents
know.
would be able to tell the child
Yeah,
at a certain age.
I have my father's sister is actually in a same sex marriage. She went to a sperm bank to produce her son, and they are together. He has two moms. Um, she's established. They're both established. I just think it's more important to, and this is now that I've been there, done that. I just think it's so much more important to establish yourself by yourself before trying to be something to someone else and a child. It's so much easier to establish yourself. And I get that women do tend to, once they get to a certain level of success, they get a certain level of independence where they don't necessarily need a man. And I get that. But why do we have to stay in a place of, or what's the medium between having, what's the medium between one being a stay out mom and not having anything for yourself, not being in the working field, or being a young mom in a young family without being established together? What's the medium in between that? where both parents can have successful careers and both parents can be independent on their own and be together before they start this family? What's the medium?
There was never such thing as that, and that's what people keep failing to understand. If we go back to the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s, there was no such thing as adults being independent and coming together. It was they will always come together and build together. It's not until we get into this modern society that people are starting to say, well, I want to have this, I want to be this comfortable before I come together and build a family. When you do that, everybody has their own ideals and their own concepts of what a family should be. And it's not wrong, it's not right. What it does is it makes for a divisive way to build a cohesive family. Because if you have a set of ideals on how parents should be, I'm sorry, on how children should be raised, then discipline, and your mate does, then you'll never be able to come together. It's just simply put, it's not going to happen. It's not conducive. You don't have two engineers constructing one building. You have a head engineer, he or she lays out those plans, and the other engineers follow suit. You don't have two people driving the car. One person drives, the other person sits in the passenger seat.
So would
You
it
don't
be,
you
You're
don't have
making
to.
correlations that don't even make. You're making
so
comparisons that's not even
would it
like
be
this. That can't even be compared.
so would it be ideal for, let's just say, a 20 year olds to come together, build together, get their degree, get their success, and they're together already, but they both have successful careers and they agree on family and whatever, and they wait till their 30s to produce these children? Is that an ideal situation?
But that's what I'm saying. That's what used to occur. That's not occurring anymore.
That is what used to occur. I think usually, and this is just my opinion on it, I'm not saying this is fact or any statistics. I feel that it's typically the man, especially when you guys come together young, it's the man that is building upon his success and you kind of taking the back burner to support him, which is nothing wrong with that. I don't think it's anything wrong with it, but typically the woman gets left behind in that,
What is she being left behind to? What is she being left behind at?
in her career, in her success, in her desires, because she's supporting her helpmate.
Okay, let me ask you this question then.
Hmm.
When a woman achieves career success, what is she going to do with that career success?
Can you be a
Build a,
little bit more clear about your?
No, I can't. You know why? Because if somebody would have asked that question about a man, I would answer that in this simple way. He's going to go find a wife, he's going to have children, he's going to support that family.
right,
A woman's not going to do that because women don't see themselves as that.
That's not even true. That
what,
that that is false. Maybe that's your idea,
I,
but that's
that,
not true.
the way
And as a matter of fact, SNAF means the Standard North American Family Ideology. Sorry, I said something standard. I said something different. Sorry. But if you have a woman, say me, I'm have my degrees, have my own house, my own car, all of that. If I want to go and get pregnant and have a baby, why can't I do both?
No one is saying that you cannot. Don't
But
confuse and
but my point
so
is
the point
just
is
because I'm a woman doesn't mean I can't be career focused and be a mother and be
yeah,
the
I don't
breadwinner of the
See,
household
I think
without a helpmate.
let me jump in, and I think, and Dr. Anwar has said that this is actually happening. It was an article
yes.
that was going around. So we're saying for those people that's in that situation that they're
Right.
got their careers, they got their degrees, but now they like, okay, I got all this. Now I want a family, and they're not going through the, I guess, traditional way of doing it, and they're going to the, and they want the child to look like them. Now they're trying to go to a sperm bank where it's only 2% black males that donated sperm, or out of the four biggest sperm banks, where 748 sperm donors, only 12 are black males. that's a dilemma. If that's the approach that you're going to take to try to uh, get a family going or at least have children, and you
But
want
some
them to
women
look
care
like you.
about that, some women don't.
Yes, but what we're telling you is the ones who care about it are the ones who are facing the dilemma.
So if there's a dilemma in a shortage of black male sperm, why can't they just find a friend or somebody that's, hold on, somebody that's willing to donate, a black man who's willing to donate?
You know,
Let her
Or,
finish. Let her finish. Let her finish.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because
Like,
men are
for me,
opting
it wouldn't be that
out.
difficult.
But
And
this
a
is
black
and this
man
is
sperm donor.
but this is what I was alluding to last week. Men have become wise to what it is. So all that talk that this specific group was doing about not needing a man has come back to bite them in the ass because
Don't
it
never
turns
say I
out
don't need a man.
no,
We all
that's
need
this
each
is
other.
but this is why I specifically said that those group of women who were leading the charge with I don't need a man have come back to find out that they actually do require a male, a
I
male that's
I think
hold on, a male that's suitable. No, for this particular instance, because we've all it's biologically proven that a woman cannot create a child on her own. She needs sperm.
That's correct.
but
Okay, so this particular group of women that are talking about they don't need a man also have come to find out that they do need one, whether they want to acknowledge it begrudgingly or openly. This particular group of women have found out that they can't get what it is that they want in the sperm donor that they want, just as David said. So the child looks exactly like them. So what
Well,
does that group?
there's
What
no
does
birth that's guaranteed that somebody's going to look exactly like
I'm
you.
talking about in
Depends
terms of
on the
complexion?
dominant gene.
In terms of complexion,
That's still a Caucasian woman and a black man. It doesn't guarantee that they're going to be as dark
in
like
terms of complexion, in other words, two black a female and a male cell getting together are going to produce a black child.
right, but that doesn't
That's what
mean.
they're but that's
But
what
if
they're
you
looking for and they can't find it.
but
who's
if you
they? What
he's
is your
saying black
sample
woman.
size? Where did you find your information?
He's
I,
just
I
saying
can't
black
recall the
women.
article that this was written up, but this is an actual article. I believe it was happening in Los Angeles. Correct me on that, BGS, if I'm incorrect on the location. But it's an I would never bring up anything such as this nature if I haven't known it to be documented. And
I agree with
Okay,
what you're
documented
saying in
by a
that.
peer review, a journal article, a
That's what
dot
he's saying. It's
com.
an article.
Like,
It's it's.
what is the basis of
I
method
think
method? You know what I'm saying? What is the method for the research?
I
all
think
you,
that
all you have to do is ask the sperm bank, what is your clientele? They'll tell you.
right. Yeah, and I agree. I agree exactly what you're saying, her. But I also agree with Anita because if you look at me and my child's father, we are both on the brown side. My baby is high yellow. High yellow. I don't know how she got that color. And if she ain't look a smidge like his grandmother, who's not as high yellow as her, she would look like she's a milkman baby. So it's not a guarantee that you're gonna get somebody,
but I don't think it's
regard
looking at the color, the actual color of the skin. I think just a black child, whether it's light
my
skinned, brown, or
Right.
I,
my daughter my daughter presents as a mixed child. I get it all the time. Oh, is she the no, she black black all the way through and through. She's black black.
Yes,
So
but we
talking
are
about
where the variances with
black
black
women
people.
and black men, or
Right. So that's what I'm
other than
saying. So
black?
both I hear what both of you are saying in that, but I don't think it's not a definite on either side because you can, just like Anita's saying, you can go for the I guess because we do have white, there's complexity in white people too. You
I
have
get
some.
I guess to sum it up, what basically is, if you can't have a black one, are you willing to have an Asian child or a Philippine or something like that? That's what we're more getting at. Not okay, if you're dark skinned and the child ends up being light skinned, it's a whole
I'm
nother
right here.
racial, ethnic group of background, different culture. Are you willing to do that?
But that's only in America. In
Well, we're in
Brazil,
America. That's what we're talking about. We're in
hold on, hold
America.
on. Let me make my point. In America, if you are part black, then you identify with black. In Brazil, if you're part black, they identify you as white. So the concept in North America or America is different than other cultures
No one
as
disagrees, but this
far as what ethnicity you identify with. Because
no
I can
one dis
identify as Western Asian. Do I look Asian? I don't know. But I can identify as it because I'm Armenian. So it's considered Western Asian.
no one's disagreeing with that. And for those who don't see it, BGS has put up. It's in the Washington Post, dated October 20th of this year. No one's disagreeing with that. What we're saying is this demographic of women aren't willing to travel abroad to find that. They want to be able to do it here.
And they
And
can.
in vitro fertilization is not an inexpensive proposition. So it has to be a certain class, economic class of women who are capable of actually even remotely financially able to undergo this process, and it's them who are actually having the concern.
Or they can have a few one night stands with a black man and hope it
And,
turns
and that's and that's and that's what we're talking about. Black men are not going that route anymore. We've been saying this for years on this platform, and very few people have paid attention that black men are just simply not dealing with black women in that particular way.
okay.
One night stands, random one nights, or whatever the case it is. The only group who's dealing with women like that are those group of men who have nothing to lose, aka the men who are actually out here running around having one night stands, having unprotected sex, are the reason that the rate of herpes is skyrocketing among black women. This is why I've always talked about the demographic of black men, 51% not having kids. The other 39% that have kids are either married to the mother or cohabitating with them. And the 20s, I think it's like 18, 19, or 20% or something like that, are the ones who are having multiple kids. Those men are not the pick of the litter that this group of women want to have kids with. And then there's the other side of the coin that I haven't mentioned yet, is child support. They say that these sperm donors won't have to worry about it, but there have been cases where these men have been tracked down and have been forced to pay back child support because this woman has gotten divorced or whatever the case it is, and the state is not going to pick up the dime for a woman who has had a child and the father is out there.
That's bullshit. Straight bullshit. Considering that they, for those vials, which they charge 950 to 1300 for a sperm vial, and the ones who donate, they get 70 to $150. So, and then you turn around and get hit with a child support uh case. Whew.
That's crazy. That so you can file for child support from a sperm donor?
Yes, you can.
I don't agree with that, but I guess
But this is part of the reason why men are opting out. Men have said, okay, you know what? This is a zero sum game in which I don't get anything. And on the back end, as I'm creeping out the door, they can hit me with a child support case. Oh, no, thank you. I'm not signing up for any of that. This is why I was saying that the group of women, that demographic of women that are talking about they don't need a man, have come to found out that they indeed need a man.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
of course.
Oh
I
my
would
gosh,
never
y'all!
say I
It
don't
does
need a man
say
because I do.
it does say that. It says that. So I just googled it real quick. I didn't look into it, But it says since most states use genetics to determine legal parentage, the sperm donor of a child conceived through intercourse is likely to be considered the parent by the court if no other father claims the child. Therefore, the donor would be afforded parental rights and be obligated to pay child support. That
Y'all think we make this stuff up, man?
that
I always took. Go ahead. I'm
is
sorry.
wild. Oh,
I always say
but it
we're not.
says now this is something else for Boyd Law, Los Angeles. It says typically a sperm donor relinquishes all parental rights for any child born using his genetic material at the time of donation.
Yeah, like David and I always say, we're not subject matter experts. But
Right.
when we bring something to you like this, it behooves you to listen to what we're telling you and then go do your own research. And if we're wrong about something, come back and tell us. Very few people have ever said you guys were wrong. We don't try and be right. What we try and do is give people information so they can make a decision that's based on solid information, because we don't want anybody who hears us live or the rebroadcast to make a decision and then find out that the decision that they made, the reason they made the information was based on erroneous decision. How many men out there, how many women out there, how many people out there were aware of the sperm shortage between eligible black men that this group of women is looking
Oh,
for,
you
and the
have to
number of
be.
cases that can be filed for child support regarding this?
So
That's been our
yeah,
entire goal. Our
it
entire
looks
goal.
it looks like you have to be an anonymous sperm donor, and just as you said, most people are looking for the man to be of a certain stature, et cetera, et cetera. So then you're not anonymous, so you
Bingo.
don't. That's that is low down. That is so
But see,
crazy.
and this is
Oh
the thing that kills me.
my
When we
god.
used to talk about this stuff when we had other panels, people would say, "Well, why don't the men vote to do this? Why don't the men vote to do that?" And now that the men are voting
Wow.
by walking away, all of a sudden now it's a problem. This
That
is why we
is
continue to beat the drums of these type of discussions and points, so people realize that when men start opting out, particularly black men, that there's a reason behind the madness. Just like the black male political agenda. And shout out to you, Dr. Tia Sana Johnson, Green Gorilla, UBGS, and everybody else in the black manosphere who has been getting on with this. Voting day is next week. Make sure, as Dr. Claude Anderson said, you vote your interest. And I don't give a damn if that means getting away from the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, or you have to go independent, or we start putting our money and our votes behind people who have our interests at hand. Let's do that. I've often talked about politics as a way for black men to even the playing
this
field.
is
Now
insane.
is our opportunity.
Yeah, oh my
Do what
god,
you
this
have
is
to do, black
insane.
man.
This is insane. I'm reading on this, and there are judges ruling that men are owing thousands to owe thousands back after they went to or decided to donate their sperm. That is trifling.
So when
How
And
you
you
there's
gonna
ju-
say you want?
so listen, when you think about when Anita said you could find a friend, and I think in that article it was someone who found a friend to do it, and then she ended up miscarrying or something, losing the child, and then when she tried to come back to him, he was involved in another relationship. So he said he didn't feel comfortable doing that. So how many friends I just go say to someone they're cool with, yeah, you want to have a child? I'll donate some sperm, and then you see she has this baby, and you're her friend, and you know that's your child. Like, how does that work? Like,
That
it's going to
is
be some
in.
emotional trauma behind that.
I do know a couple,
Some
another
people,
same-sex couple
some
in
people
the.
are on board with that.
I was just about to say now. I think it's an agreement of the couples because another this girl that I used to work with, her and her wife had a friend donate the sperm, and the male is a gay male, and they're in a gay relationship as well. In the The sperm donor is known to the child as her godfather, and she has two moms, which I think that works out for them lovely because they have been friends for forever, and they continue to be friends. And initially, or if you want to think about it, the child is blessed. The child really has three parents that are the both mothers are on the birth certificate. The godfather
See,
is that he acts as that, but I can see how that can get messy and mixy. But you do
see,
have people doing these things.
see. No one is concerned about when there's school events and people show up and other kids are saying, "Hold up, wait a minute, that your mother's married, so who's your father?" Because these kids ask a lot of shit like that's
Yeah, they
I
do.
inappropriate.
mean,
A
I was
lot of
one
times,
of those children where my mom was in a relationship with the woman, and of course, back then in the early '90s, of course, she was always my. Actually, both of my mother's long-term girlfriends were always considered my godmothers, and it was. I don't know. I guess it's really how you explain things to your child and how your children are able to articulate and comprehend it, because it never to me it never made me feel any type of way, and I feel like we just always had an extra layer of support. We've
well,
always had that extra person. I mean, my godmother's the one that helped me buy my first car. My godmother, yeah, I don't know. It can work. It can work. My dad and I don't know. My dad and my godmother was always cool. Everybody is cool. Everybody's friends. Whoever shows up shows up. Whoever can't, or work issues or whatever availability, and they don't. But I don't know. It seems like to me, in the situations that do work, the child ended up being blessed.
yeah, and Julian said no one considers what happens when the child gets into an accident. So
Well, when you have something like that, if in a legal standpoint, if you have two people on the birth certificate, those are the two people that have the authority. And I'm pretty sure that responsible adults that are doing this have these measures in place. If you are the godfather, for instance, you already know that you are not able and capable to make medical decisions.
it just seems like a lot, and I know. I mean, I'm not going to say that for women that who decide to say, I don't want no family at this point. I'm trying to
Hmm.
secure, um, everything, secure my career. I've struggled. I watch my family struggle, so I want something different for myself.
Right.
But then when you get into this situation, it's a lot. It's a lot to it. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
something
hard
to
to
think about.
judge. It's hard. It's tricky either way, because I see, and this is just my experience. My friends that waited on the other end to establish themselves first before their families and bringing other people, they're more successful. And when I say more successful, they're more successful in their careers, financially, as well as in their relationships.
Are they having less children?
No, that's what I'm saying. No, they're not having less children.
How
Now
many
they're having
children?
children older. They're having children older.
Let
Um,
me let me let me put it to you like this: the generation that Dave, myself, and BGS come from, it was not uncommon for a fam or for a mother to
mhm.
have double-digit offsprings. We rarely see that in today's
But that's
society.
because you
Hold on,
had
hold on,
those
hold on,
mothers
hold on,
staying at
hold on, hold
home.
on. But that's part of the point. If you look at the American actually Western culture population is not above replacement. In other words, we are not having enough children to sustain our levels of growth, which are necessary for a country to be competent economically. So this is why the immigration issue, and I don't want to sidetrack the discussion. This is why the immigration issue becomes important, especially in America, because as it stands right now, the immigration population that they're bringing in is going to push Black America into a permanent minority majority status, and eventually it'll be a minority status. In other words, we will become what the Native American Indians are now, and that's going to happen within 2 generations. You can guarantee that, because we're not having children, we're not producing children. This is why the idiots, and yes, I'm going to say idiots, that don't understand the Supreme Court decision and they're calling Supreme Court Justice Thomas a sellout, don't understand what he just did for Black people by ruling in the affirm to make abortion a states' right issue.
So my next question for that is, so when you have a woman, let's just say you have the woman that decides to stay at home and decides to have five or more children. Until they get of a certain age, that woman is staying home. There's no way. I don't want to say there's no way, because there is a way, but I don't feel that there is a way for you to have five children and effectively parent them while working. So let's just say you and their father, your husband, et cetera, you guys don't you guys don't make it. You guys don't survive the relationship, and that happens sometimes. Okay, fine. But now you have this mother that has no work history, no work experience, and then we're mad because we're paying our taxes into Medicaid programs and government programs. So it's like, where's the medium?
What we have to understand is this: there's always going to be a segment of America that's underemployed, underpaid, or just breaking even. That's never going to change, because we live in a capitalist society, and that's what capitalism is based upon. So whether the mother is a stay-at-home mother,
Hmm.
whether she's a divorced mother, whether she's a single mother, she's bringing up one, two, or three kids. Eventually, those kids get older. What we have is a lot of people that don't understand how to utilize time. And this is something I said when I was running for the school board. If that child is in school from 9 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then there's no reason why that parent can't learn alongside that child. Now, if you're running a home that has some
Hmm.
type of scheduling,
Hmm.
half of the stuff that you need to do as an adult should already be done. That cleaning and all that other stuff, that only matters when you run a dysfunctional household. So when you let the kids come in, throw the books anywhere, put the shoes anywhere, you don't give them structure, you don't give them a regimen. Of course, you're gonna live in a place that has absolutely no structure, that things are all over the place. But if you give a child some structure, when you come in, this is what you do: you take off them clothes, you put them in the old clothes, you make sure you get your homework done, you go out, come back in when I call you for dinner. This, that household runs smooth.
But you don't think that leads to a child pretty much raising themselves
No,
because mom and dad are both at work?
no, because mom's not at work. Mom's learning alongside the child. I said go to
So
school. I didn't say work.
so let's just say, and I definitely understand you. So let's just say, I decide to stay at home mom for years 1 to 5. Once the child turns 5 and goes to school, or we can even say 3 now. We can say 3. And we get them into a half day program or some type of program during the day where I can go to classes and I can take classes and I can learn for myself, et cetera, et cetera. School, just like you said, I'd even go further to say, because a lot of the times you have a 6 to 6, daycares are 6 to 6. Either way, you have a cap at 12 hours for them to be in the care of that child care facility. That learning, that only happens in a two-parent household. So now we have this two-parent household. Okay, fine. Child gets older, old enough to be at home by themselves after school, and now I'm starting my career. What that things don't always go that smoothly. So
No,
when
go ahead.
so so the I guess the right way, I don't want to say the right way, but the notion is that you learn alongside your child once they so about, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, you've gotten your bachelor's degrees or whatever you did because you learned alongside your child, and now you enter the workforce, and then everything is fine because everybody is supposed to have a 9 to 5.
That's where the fallacy comes in. Let's let's look at this from an economic standpoint of just household income coming in.
Right.
The federal poverty guidelines is $25,000 a year. That's what family for mother, father, two children. If a man has a job that's paying him $15 an hour, we're not going to talk about medical coverage and all of that stuff. He's
Mm-hmm.
making roughly about between $30 and $32,000 a year. Not a lot of money for a family of four. Depending on where you live at in the country, you're going to be just breaking even. So there's not going to be any field trips anywhere, no frills, none of that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if he goes out and acknowledgement to Kevin Samuels, and he gets another part-time job that puts another $10,000 to $15,000 in his pocket, he's working
Mm-hmm.
60 hours a week. Now he's bringing home about $45,000 a year, something about that. That family's doing okay. The
Right,
well,
but that's economically, he's not okay.
hold on. But that's why I said let's just focus on economics for right now.
Uh-huh.
If he can do that, then the
Mm-hmm.
mother is in a position to be a stay-at-home mom. So if she has four kids, she can get those four kids raised
Mm-hmm.
into preschool on up into grade school. So
Mm-hmm.
while they're going to school from the hours of 9 to 2, she can take college courses part-time.
Yes.
She
Or
she
full
she can
time. You could do that. You could do full time in those hours too.
correct, but this is what women don't want to do.
But then,
Men are on
and
board
I'm
with working in 60 hours, but women think they should be able to hit the ground with equal footing with men. And then they want to come around on the back end and start to have kids. And they don't realize they're working against their biological clock when they do that. So it's not about what men want, it's about what women have to do in order to have both. We covered this about 3 or 4 months ago when we said, could modern women have it all? The answer was yes, but the answer was they had to do it in steps. And I don't know if Daphne's listening. Daphne was one of the ones that said, yes, you can, but you have to do it in such a manner that it works for you. A lot of women are trying to do what doesn't work. They're trying to put the system in such an order that they can go out and in their most fertile years go seek education, get their education, then get established in their career. Get
no,
the
I'm
education.
not arguing with the fact of the steps that matter, because I do think that is a good way and an efficient way to start your family, and both parents are able to get their education, et cetera, et cetera. I definitely agree taking those steps would be efficient. But then that in those cases, a lot of those cases, you then have dads not being, and not because they don't want to, because I don't believe this, and I would never go with the notion that a dad who doesn't want to be involved. But if you are doing what you're supposed to do to protect and provide for your family, because you are working in these steps, the years 1 to 5, you're working 60 hours a week. You're not an effective part of this family. You're the financial backing.
Fathers have always been that. It's not until modern day that that is being talked about. The father that look at it like this. Men that worked construction jobs 40, 50 years ago, worked in
Hmm.
steel plants. They didn't
Right.
come home and play with the kids. They were too damn
Right.
tired. They didn't
So
help
is
with the
that
homework.
okay?
It's not about being okay. This is what women focus on. Look at effective. There's been a generation of Americans who were born, bred, and raised that way, and they did not suffer.
What,
But
what,
see
what,
that
what?
I don't think that's true because that's when you have those kids that are growing up and they're getting to be
Let me put
I
it to you
guess
like
10 and
let me put it
above
to you
and
like
they
this, Shaughnessy.
realizing dad is never home. Yes, we have
Son,
everything that we need, but I don't have that real relationship with my father. Not because I don't like dad, not that dad is flawed in any way in personality, character, not that dad doesn't love me, not that dad doesn't care. Dad is busy as hell making shit shake.
You know,
Shaughnessy, let me hold on, Dave. Let me interject this. Shaughnessy, let me ask you this. Go back and look at Generation X kids, because this is the kids that we're talking about. What is
Hmm.
the biggest concern that they had about growing up? I'll leave you with that.
I would say two-parent household.
You think that was the biggest concern that they had?
That's what I would say.
And I can tell you that two-parent households when we were growing up, whether you were black or white, didn't matter.
Hmm. So what mattered?
What was immaterial. For the most part, the kids that were growing up in that generation, they had no concerns. You got to remember, you're talking about a generation of kids that were latchkey kids at 12, 13, and 14.
Shoot, I was not. It was 9 and 10 for
We
me.
were self-sufficient at that
Hmm.
age when it came to a lot of things. This is
Right.
why our generation, we tend to look at the younger generation as having arrested development when it comes to certain things. This not being able to decide this not being able to keep up with this, we look at that as foreign because we don't understand it.
Right. And I can agree with that. I definitely I can agree with that in my own children because sometimes it's like, we were doing this stuff 2 years ago and you are this age and you're not able to do it. But the fact of the matter is because we did things that way doesn't necessarily make it right. And it
Once once
doesn't
again,
mean
once
that
again, once
we
again,
didn't bring on other issues within the household.
once again, you're focusing on right as opposed to effective. I
But
never
it
use it.
that doesn't be that wouldn't be effective if we are financially stable and we are emotionally damaged, we still have issues.
But who's saying who's emotionally damaged, and from what perspective?
there's
The
so many
I
layers
would
to this.
Yeah, it is.
it is because I definitely get the part of I do not disagree with doing it in steps. I do not disagree with, the male, just like I said, doing what he has to do to make shit shake. But then it's like when, let's just say, mom gets sick or mom goes out of town or whatever. Dad can't officially efficiently run the household because again, not because dad is a lame, not because dad is a clown, not because dad doesn't have the desire to do these things, but dad don't be here to do these things. So now
Well,
it's just confusion. And I don't again, this is something that I don't think either side is right or wrong. I think there has to be a medium where and that's why independence on with both parties is important because if both parties can render a certain level of independence for themselves in a certain level of I guess running their household without and not saying when I say without a woman and without a man, I just mean surviving for the weekend or surviving for a week so that you're not in total disarray when your partner is gone or if
but
your partner
why
is
is a
dead.
partner leaving though? That's what I don't. Why is somebody
Well,
going
not
somewhere?
vacation, work trips, out of town with
But the
family,
but the but
anything.
the mother's not. But the mother. See, you only get into work trips when the mother's working.
No, when dad is what I'm saying is when dad is working. So let's just say let's just say perfect example. Okay, kids 1 to 5. I have my kids 1 to 5 whatever, and my best friend is getting married. We're going to do a bachelorette trip in Miami. Dad has no problem with staying home for the weekend. Dad has made sure that I can afford to fly with my friend to do all the activities. Everything is straight with that. There's no question. He's game. He's like, look, cool. I'll have the kids from Thursday to Monday. But when dad has the kids from Thursday to Monday, one of the kids is like, Mom, don't do it this way. Or, wait, Dad, this is how we're supposed to do it. And then people calling you, asking you where the socks at. And it's in the drawer on the top. And it's not that dad is incompetent, but dad is not here typically. That is not typically here. So, how do we find that medium where both men and women can be an effective part of the family while still
After work, both parents should participate in running the household.
but
But
not
there
if
is
that
no
man is
work if
working
the mother
60
is a
how
stay-at-home
but no
mother.
I'm talking about older than that because I'm me personally I'm saying older than that because ain't no way in hell that I was leaving my kid's father with
Okay,
them for a long weekend 5
so
and
so
under. No, he
set
would go
the
crazy.
age demographic of the kids.
Huh?
Set the age demographic of the kids.
um
Four kids.
I'll
Four
say
kids.
7
Husband, wife.
I'll say let's just say 5, 7, 9 and 11, 2 years
Oh,
apart, 16, 16, 12, 12 to 16, 18 months apart. We have
okay,
all
fine.
four of these children. Dad does what he's supposed to do at home. He loves his parent. He loves his kids effectively. You know, he's totally in tune with his children when he does come home or on weekends or whatever. He's engaged with the family. Family dinners go well. Everybody sits and eats together. And mom decides, this weekend it's bachelorette weekend. I'm gonna go. So dad is like, bet. Thursday I'm gonna take off so I can do carpool. Friday I'm gonna take off so I can do carpool. Saturday we got soccer. Sunday we got dance. Monday we're gonna get them ready for school. I'm not saying by any means that the man is not willing to do this, but because he is not typically put in the position to do these things because he is at work doing what he's supposed to do, he is now almost incapable of doing these things. Same thing with doctor's appointments. I experienced this. I I couldn't get off, and my son was older. They were old. He was what 7, and he took Zion to the doctor. Zion was sick. He took Zion to the doctor. I didn't think, you know, I think he got his son. He's fine. I go to my assignment was to pick the prescription up to the from the pharmacy. I was told everything was good. When I went to go pick up the medication, it was a Z pack. It was a Z pack. It was eardrops. And I'm like, wait, I thought I was just here for more nebulizer treatment. So I call the doctor real quick, like, hey, I'm confused. I want to make sure the pharmacy is giving me the right thing. The pharmacy said this is what came over, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah, he has the flu and double air infection. And I'm like, bruh, these jiggers was just at the mall. Like, what? And it's not that their father wasn't,
Sometimes
doing
fathers
the
don't bring all the details.
exactly, and that's just it. Yeah, and he's not used to going to the doctor. He's not used to the way he saw it is look, they gave him Motrin. My man started running, so we good, we out. And again, that's not me downing a man. That's not me talking negatively of a man. It's
No, you
just
can do that. That's fine because the situation is what it is. But that's my point. If an individual, I don't care who it is,
mhm.
isn't thorough with what they're doing, then it's not going to matter what they do. They're not going to be thorough, and
No,
that's
see,
what you.
I wouldn't even do that to any man in particular because I don't think it
It's,
has
it's
to
not. It's at this point. It's not about a gender. It's about being thorough. Look at it like this: can a man do secretarial work?
Mm-hmm.
Can a man be a nurse?
Mm-hmm.
So what you're describing isn't a gender issue. It's an customization issue. So you're correct. If a man's not accustomed to doing certain things, then he has to be even more thorough. And if that man's not thorough, then it's not going to matter what he's doing. He's going to miss certain things.
But it's not, I
This
don't see, I wouldn't say that it's not that he is not necessarily thorough. And this is just me advocating for the man. I'm not going to say that it's not that he's necessarily not thorough. He's just like you said, he's not accustomed to doing this. So,
which which
how do
which
we
is
find that?
which is why you write things down.
Oh, Lord.
They say the best pen and paper, the worst pen and paper is better than the best memory. Anybody that has half a brain, that has a busy day, what do? They write a list. Guarantee not to miss anything if you write a list. They say this is what makes the wealthy people wealthy and the poor people poor is they have a list. Every day they get up, what's my list say I do? If you follow the list, you guarantee not to miss anything. Too many people are too lazy. They don't want to write a list because they think they can remember everything until they forget something. Let me ask you this question though. How often have you heard about a man leaving a baby in the backseat of a car on a summer day when it's rolled up?
Always.
You've heard of men doing that?
Yes. I think, yeah, you know what, to be quite honest, and this is again a tricky subject because I don't want to, I'm not gonna say that.
Getting some interference from somewhere.
Shaughnessy. All right.
She's getting some interference from somewhere. The point I was getting at with asking that question is this: if women consistently do something, then they're by her position, that should never happen. They should never leave a child in the backseat of a car on a summer day with the windows rolled up because it's something they're consistently doing. That's my point. People, no matter what their gender is, always miss something. It happens. We're
I
not
agree.
perfect. We're infallible. So when
So
situations
they
come
should have
along,
a list. Don't forget to get the child out of the car.
yeah, it happens. So it's not whether somebody's accustomed to doing something, is are they overburdened? And this is what they generally talk about with modern women. She has to do this, she has to do this, she has to do this, and she has to do that. I understand, which is why you plan. Planning helps to minimize certain things. It's not going to eliminate it,
I
but it's
don't
going
think,
to.
and this is not me. This is not me coming at you or in any way, shape, or form. I think that's a hard thing to speak on when you haven't dealt with it. Because I've never left because I don't know. I'm not gonna say I agree or I understand how people leave their children in the car because I don't. I always look at my back seat just because I always do. That's just a thing that I do. I always look back there. It doesn't matter whether the kids are back there, not back there. I always look, and I always look back in my car just to look in the car when I leave my car. But I have because I wasn't the one taking my son. And this is when we only had one child. I never took my son to work just because I always went to work so early. I took my son to work because dad was out of town. I mean, I'm sorry, I was supposed to take my son to school because dad was out of town. Y'all know I pulled up to work and I got a baby in the car seat and I'm like, oh, I guess I missed their stop. So now we gotta pull back out of work and go back to daycare. No, I wasn't being careless. Yes, I had enough time. I had more than enough time. I wasn't running late. I wasn't. I'm on order. And that's just something, just like you said, I'm not accustomed to. I know where his daycare is. I pick him up every day. Same situation where maybe my sister says, "Okay, I'm gonna pick the kids up after school." After school, I know this. We plant this for a month. We plant this for 2 weeks. That's what I'm gonna do. Instead of making that right to go straight home, I'm gonna make that left because I'm still going to daycare because I'm so used to doing this.
I think it was just a disruption in your normal routine that
Right.
sometimes you
And I think that's what happens a lot with, and I don't know the statistics on it, but I'm not gonna, I wouldn't sit here and say or judge and say that every person that left the child in the car is like, you're a horrible person or you did it on purpose. No, I don't think that every incident that happens, but just like you said, it's a disruption in their day. And, it happens. But if you're not accustomed to these things, then what are you to do?
So I just looked it up. It says dads are almost 3 times more likely than moms to leave a child alone in a parked car.
Yep.
And that came from safekids.org.
And it happened. And again, it's not because these dads don't, most of them, they don't love their child. They're a trash parent, that blah, blah, blah. They're just not accustomed to these things. Most of the time, it's the grandfathers and it's the dads. They don't usually have or take the children to and from school. And then that ends up happening. So it's a hard medium to kind of reach where you don't know who or what really works for each. You can't put a stamp on what will work for each family.
It's but that's the point that I'm getting at. If you take 1,000 families, whatever their makeup is,
Mm-hmm.
and you find something that's common among them, then we know it works because the evidence is already there. The
Just because they
generations.
do it doesn't mean it works.
I'm sorry, I must have missed something.
Just because just because there's a commonality in what we do doesn't mean that that is what works.
I
And
know.
this
I
goes
just,
back.
I just, I just said it works. I said if you take 1,000 families and what they do works, then there's a commonality that we know, no matter what the demographic is, that it's effective. Why would anyone want to tinker with that? That's the equivalent of buildings being built for hundreds of years one way, and somebody wants to come along and say, let's do something different.
So
Why?
you don't know, back to the original point, you don't know any children or adults or people in their childhood that will say or are willing to say, look, my father made sure I was straight, made sure my mother was straight, made sure the house was taken care of, made sure trash was out, grass was cut, blah, 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 blah. But my dad was never really, in tune with us because that man was always at work. So now in my older years, I'm trying to build a bond with my dad that I didn't have when I was younger. That happens
And,
a lot in those
yeah,
families.
and
yeah,
you know what happens in other families where the kids have that bond, they lack something else. No family covers everything. Even the well-to-do families have shortfalls. Even the
Agreed.
families where even the families where the father is involved has shortfalls. So you're never going to
Mhm.
create the quintessential perfect family. It doesn't exist. This is why I talked about
Agreed.
minimizing certain things. You're not going to get a father who's hands on if he has to work to support the family. You're not going to get a father who's there for recitals, football games,
Right.
and all those things if he's trying to protect the family and make sure the family has everything it needs to survive economically. It doesn't happen. There's always a give and take in every relationship. Doesn't matter if it's personal, professional, or familial. The
So
and
there's
question,
no
the
medium.
the right, you got to find a happy medium.
but I want to add to that, and I think sometimes, and I understand the approach that Shaughnessy was saying, like you're doing all this, dad is working all these hours, but he's never getting to spend that adequate time. I understand that aspect too, but I think also with sometimes with kids, it's kind of like the saying, "What have you done for me lately?" Like if you're a dad and you're producing, because everybody like to showcase, everybody like to have the upper echelon of things as such. And if you're a dad, you're going to every game, every event, but you don't have nothing to produce financial wise. That's an issue too. So I think sometimes it's kind of give or take depending on the kid and how they handle things. If they're
But guess
quiet,
I
low key, and keep to
uh-huh.
themselves, like it's not a big issue. But if they're caught up in the world like everybody else, then they want a dad that's gonna produce. Like I want these, I need these new sneakers, I want that, I want that. The only way that dad's gonna be able to do it is probably go out there and work. But if they're a kid that just say, "I just want to spend time with you," that's more important
But see, and
than
that goes back to my main point in saying that a lot of families that tend to establish themselves first for themselves and then have the children are able to do these things because I'm far enough in my career now where I am the person that makes the schedule. I'm the person that makes my schedule. So whether my son has a homecoming event at 12 p.m. or whether he has a game at 7 p.m., I have established myself enough that I can be there. And mom, too. She has established herself enough that she can do what needs to be done and she can be in place when she needs to be in place. So we are both in that
so.
position.
So, Shaughnessy, when you look at it, and not saying you, but you have this woman that's 35 to
Hmm.
40, and she's established, and she's looking to start a family. What man? I mean, because she already got everything that got a good job, don't have any children, or whatever the case is. As far as the man out there, what's going to be a selection process? Because maybe the guys that's already, on her level, they may already have someone. Is she willing to? Women ain't are not willing to go down, date down, and say, you know what, I'm going to work with him. They still want the top dog,
Well,
and if they're not available,
there's
then
two
what?
points to that. That goes back to my point in saying if both of you are established in your own way, because whether I make 6 figures and you make 80 grand, you're still able to contribute effectively in the household, regardless of whether you make 20K less than me or not. And I guess that all comes in. I don't think I don't feel that every woman that is already established or has more than a man is not or is going to say, oh, because you make 80 grand and I make 6 figures, you're not in my league and we can't do this. That's when you have to find like minds. You have to find somebody that matches what you like or matches what you want. I don't think because you both are over 35 and you're established that you have nothing to help or bring to the table for each other.
Yeah,
Most of the time we're having children young, and that's when this person has a family and that person has a family. If both men and women are establishing themselves early on and then coming together, we have more together.
that's true. And again, like Herbert said, like there's certain demographics of women that this is their goal. So that may not fit every woman's situation. Your situation may be different, but there's certainly a population of women who say, "Hey, I'm going to get mines. I'm going out to get my degrees and all that. Now I'm 41, 42. Now I want a family." And we only brought this up because it was an article written saying that option you may have to you might want to think about that option. That might not be a reliable option. Now, if there's someone that has a potential candidate physically that uh both of you been career mind and focused, but y'all still been seeing each other, that's different than someone who has been kind of not in the dating game, but they're like, okay, I, I'm gonna go decide to go to the sperm bank, but I want a child that looks like me, not saying exactly the same color or whatever, but I'm a black woman, I want a black child.
I guess because I'm not of that age, I don't really. I don't know. I don't have experience in, I
And I
don't know. I don't have.
and I don't think I can say I haven't came across anybody that say, "Oh, I got anybody," but it's just different information that hey, we need to discuss, need to talk about it, and it may have nothing, little to do with any of us, but it's still people out there that this is how they're living. So it may be someone that's young and promising, and you may know it's like, okay, you're 25, 26, and that may be their mindset. Like, I'm not trying to have a child till I get like um in my late 30s or 40s. You may have to put a bug in their ear and say, eh, you may want to think about that option as well. So we
I
just
mean,
try to.
the only I can say, you know, for those that want to have children older, you have the pro that you're more established. And then the opposite of that is you have you are more established, but they say you have the most fun when you're 30 to 40s, but now you got this little toddler running around and you got a stroller and a baby bag and all that other good stuff. It's caveats to both parts of it,
So
because having children young is hard.
really no right or wrong answer to this. It's just different
Yeah.
perspectives, and a lot of people have different perspectives of different experiences based on that. So no one is dead wrong or right. Just putting this stuff out there. Hey, Carolyn, how you doing? Anita, you got anything you want to add to this? I know it's a lot been said and a lot of different views thrown out there, and nobody, again, like I said, there's really no right or wrong answer.
Oh, really, my perspective is do you. Do what works for you. If two people are working and you have a child, and then two people should come home and participate in running the household.
Somebody said
That's not
this
how
chick
it.
is so negative. Husbands and wives in the past stay together and make it work. Stop thinking about divorce. It's not that I'm not. I'm thinking about divorce. What I'm thinking about, or what I am referencing, is you can't. It's almost like you can't please everybody, because the reality of it is, once you get into those numbers of 3, 4, and 5 kids, you have it's almost like you have to stay with your partner regardless of what. If you are a stay-at-home mom, and let's just say either partner, I'm not saying the man cheats, I'm not saying the woman cheats, but because I am dependent on you, it's really going to be hard for me to go any other way. And if I do decide that I don't want to be abused, or I don't want to be mistreated, then that's when you have those single mothers with all those kids, that then we then again talk about them. We judge them. She has 5 kids on welfare, but we don't look at the background. But when she produced these 5 kids, she was in a relationship. They may be with all the same dad, but maybe I didn't want to continuously be cheated on. Or maybe I'm the one that cheated, and he was like, I ain't dealing with this shit, because girl, I've been making sure you good, for the past 10 years. And I don't deserve to be cheated on. So I'm going to go my way. You're going to go your way. Yes, I'm going to take care of my kids. But because I take care of my kids, doesn't guarantee that you are still financially stable.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you look at all this, there's a lot to unpack. It's a lot to
Mm-hmm.
unpack, and I guess the goal is to kind of put everything out there on the table and kind of pull from this and pull from that. And at the end of the day, we're still not going to have no right answer or not. But these discussions, at least need this, be forming and having these discussions. Because I could tell you, what when I was in my 20s, late 20s, I never had a conversation like this. I never. It was nothing ever brought up or discussed. So I think right now we have a lot of opportunities in different platforms to bring up certain subject matters that people can kind of kind of like a buffet, pick and choose like certain things that's being put out there and kind of address it and be more knowledgeable about different situations, which for my generation growing up, that wasn't an option. You got stuff from your parents, grandparents, or people that you hung around with. And sometimes with that wasn't always knowledgeable or good advice. It was just stuff that they always did. So you just fell in line and did it. But now we got people, can set their own trail and be trailblazers and come up with their own unique way of doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was this was
Definitely a definitely a 21st century way of being an individual, I suppose. You know, whether people want to agree with it or not, realize it or not, we are in a cultural shift. Everything from gender norms, clothing to entertainment, it's all undergoing a major shift. And like I said, this is one of the reasons why I tuned out of pop culture. I'm looking at this, I'm just like, this is not what I identify with. It's not what I want to be a part of. And I have no use for it. But I don't have to deal with it if I don't want. But that doesn't mean I should be oblivious to it. Because, there's going to be some people that I work with, people that I dialogue with, and some people that I bump into on occasion. It's going to be their life. So how do I interact? How do I engage with those people and still maintain my thought patterns as an individual? And this is something that somebody had talked about what Tom Brady had did. And I'm not necessarily trying to get into Tom Brady's personal like that. Something different. They said he hired somebody to walk him through all the cultural differences that he was going to endure all the incoming young players. Because Brady's career and the generation, literally 20 years. That was in when he was going to the University of Michigan are different. The way he dressed when he was going to school, different. And all that stuff is different. So if you're not abreast to it, how do you relate? What do you discuss? Do you just become an old curmudgeon and just say, you know what, the hell with those kids, I don't want to have nothing to do with them? Or do you embrace them on their level? Even though you may not agree with some things, can you still relate to them? Can you still have a conversation with them? Can you still be a human in their eyes? Because eventually, that's what's going to matter most to them.
Speaking of this Tom Brady thing, what are your thoughts on it? I think my understanding of it is
Shaughnessy,
he
we
kind of
can't hear
had
you.
oh
real
I
low.
don't know why.
Yeah, you just faded out.
Hello,
There you go.
Yeah,
can you
yeah,
hear me now?
yeah.
Yes.
Can you
Okay,
hear me now?
okay. So with the Tom Brady situation, my understanding is that they were divorced because, or they have gotten divorced because his wife kind of took a back seat after having children or whatever for him to go ahead and do his thing, have his career. And the understanding was he was going to have a timeline for when he retired. And of course, he was like, I'm gonna do it. And then once he sat at home, he was just like, this doesn't really serve me, so I want to go back to playing football, which your happiness is everything. But then his wife is like, no, that's not fair because that's not the plan. Is that's the correct? Is that how things happen?
Um, Pretty much they had an agreement. And he was supposed to retire, and he came back out. But see, the thing with her also, she has her money too, so it's not. She's already established. Like she's a stay home mom, but she's making money while she was doing it. She's already established, and
So do you think she's wrong for now that, I guess he didn't stick to the script because he's wanting to, stick to his happiness, and now, their happiness doesn't align with being together. So now that so now they're divorced. What
well, I think she also had to know because Tom being Tom, he's an ultimate competitor. She had to know that he was gonna have an itch to come back. I mean, and let's be honest, really, really, whether he never, if he, I know life is short, so
oh,
we can't take things
y'all
for
see the
granted.
dog tearing up the paper on camera?
I was talking about Anita's dog.
Yes.
Yeah, that was her notes for the show. So
My dog ate my homework.
whether he never came back or not, his window was closing anyway. Like it's not like he can go on. I mean, he always said he was going to play until he was 45. Well, I think he's 45 now. So it's not like he. But again, he got this big lucrative contract to be a part of the studio, and maybe that's just on the set for whatever fly out to the set, and he would probably be home majority of the time. I don't know, like those lifestyles, whatever. It's like totally different from the things that we have to go through.
Right, but even if we scale it down to, I guess if we scale it down to someone, a typical American family where the guy is the one that, he's going after his career and we are in agreement. Once you get here, it's going to be my turn again, maybe, or it's going to be time for me to do me. And now that you're here, you changed up. So, what's your guys' thought process? Do you think that he should have stuck to the script? Do you think that Giselle should have just, like, I'm still here. I'm still,
She's still loaded. Like so, what career was she gonna have? Was chasing after that? She's already worth 400, 500 million.
or maybe
So
she wanted her like, maybe she wanted him home more, or maybe she, what. So where's the, and this is kind of what I was talking about, and with the woman being a stay-at-home mom, and of course finances are not a factor because, and we can, again, the typical American family, that is work, so finances are not a factor. My happiness is. So do you guys think, on a lower scale of things, of course, it was wrong of the husband to, continue to search for his happiness, leaving everybody else's happiness behind, or you think it's best for the divorce?
see,
Let me jump in here for a moment there because I got to get ready to go. It's a bad comparison, number one. Why? Because athletes tend to have a much shorter shelf life. Like I said, Brady's been in the game for 21 years. The
Mm-hmm.
NFL career is only 3.5 years. Brady's long exceeded that. Number one. Number two,
Mhm.
as a wife, you do not want a discontented husband. I'll say it again. As a wife, you do not want a discontented husband at home or around you or the kids. It'll make life a
Mhm.
living hell. Let
Right.
him go on his own terms. So when he does, he has no one to look at and blame other than himself. Now, the thing that she's supposedly concerned about, and Brady has talked about this, is the mental health issues due to concussions. Valid
Mhm.
concern. But even then, that's what she signed up for. When she met him, he was a top tier NFL quarterback. That is
Mhm.
not change. You do not change a lion into a cub. And that's what Brady is, and that's what she's trying to do. And unfortunately for her, she didn't think about this long term. So it's not
So
a,
you,
it's not a matter of
I.
whether Brady's right or wrong by reneging on his choice.
Mhm.
That's what he is.
No, I don't think I don't think that any party in this matter is necessarily right or wrong. I just it to me it's interesting to actually see that um
No,
they had
I'll
this
say this.
agreement.
No,
It
Brady's
wasn't,
wrong. He's wrong.
huh?
Because as and if you, I'll tell you this. I'm a Brady fan. I go back to Brady when he was backing up Brian Griese at the University of Michigan. He's wrong because as a man, if you can't keep your word, then you're not a man in my book. But he's wrong for the right reason. You want to make sure that he's exhausted every avenue that he can play at the top tier level before he goes out. That way he can say, "I left it all on the field." That's the mantra
Right. Right.
every athlete that's ever played any game.
And
And
also let me add to that, and I also think he's an opportunist on this. He is like, man, the Rams won it last year. We
Yep.
almost came back and beat them. If my team come back, the same team come back, we can win it again. But then
mhm.
there's also a juggernaut in this thing now. Buffalo and such has gotten better, and so it's and now Tampa Bay is struggling and the Green Bays are struggling. So that plan kind of backfired and it didn't go out. It didn't. It's not going accordingly how he thought it would be.
Right.
So I
And
don't
do
know.
you not think and I kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's just I feel for both of them because just like I said, I think if both people are not happy, then they're not going to be happy together. So, of course, that's why it led to them being divorced. But what's unfortunate to me is that she waited for this moment that never came, and they had an agreement on it. And it's like that's kind of like the prime example of why I would say women almost fear of taking that back seat because
Yeah,
now that all this time has gone and
taking
I
them back.
knew what I wanted, I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted and I knew what you wanted. So I'm being a team player now. And when it's time for you to carry the team or you make a decision for the team, you change the game.
But she hasn't taken a back seat to him though. Like David said, she
No,
hasn't.
well, when I say take a back seat, when I say take a back seat, I don't mean in a financial aspect.
But
I'm just saying in as far as happiness, as far as feeling fulfilled as a human being. I've done the mom thing, I've done the wife thing, and now we agreed that we were going to do the
she hasn't done the wife thing. That's her problem. Say it again. She has not done the wife thing. They haven't been
But
able
why do
to
you say that?
because they haven't. She wants him home so they can be a family. That's her biggest contention. Is that he may not be around long enough for them to be a family. She hasn't done the wife thing. She's bore his kids. Yes, she's took in his name, but she
Oh, so
hasn't.
what I mean when I say I've done the wife thing, I mean more so of I've been your partner to back you up in fulfilling your dreams.
But she hasn't though. That's my point. Look at it like this.
Why? How has she
How
not?
not?
If she's
How
how
hasn't
not?
she?
So I'm not saying
I
what
know what
you're.
Shaughnessy, I know what you're
I,
saying.
I
I'm
do too, but she hasn't.
I'm not talking about being the wife at home, cooking, cleaning, and
I,
the family thing together. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm
Sean,
saying
I
is,
am 100% of what you're saying. Let's take Giselle out of the picture. Take her
mm-hmm,
out.
Mhm.
You think Brady will still be the quarterback that he is?
We don't
yeah,
know.
I think so.
We
Yeah,
don't know that.
I think so.
yes. You know
I
why?
think so.
Because he's put his career first. She was not
Mm-hmm.
going to change that. No other woman was going to change that. People have to
Right.
realize that Brady has another child besides the two that he has with Giselle. Guess where that child is? With
Where?
with his mother. Brady was not going to be deterred from becoming what he is by nobody or anything.
Oh
That's
no, I
what.
don't want him to be deterred, and I don't think it's for him to be deterred. What I'm just saying is the what
The
I guess
agreement was broken.
what I sympathize with is, as a woman, she, and this is how I comprehend it. She said, "You know what, gang, you want this, you want to do this. So I am going to be at home with the children. I'm gonna make sure that your children are raised accordingly. The kids are blah blah blah. And when you reach this stage, then we get to be this. We get to be this family together. And now that I've done my part, you haven't fulfilled your part, and I feel bad for her because it's like, I've done and I've made the sacrifices as the partner to do this part and make sure you had a happy home. But you didn't have I've been your support. I've been because and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that any woman couldn't have done it, but I've been your support. I've done what I was supposed to do. And here I am years later, and it's my turn with my partner, and I don't get it.
Want me to tell you why you don't get it?
No,
Because
she's talking about the woman doesn't get her time
hold on.
She
Want
doesn't.
me?
because
Want,
the
hold
social
on.
contract was
Hold.
broken between them.
Want me to tell you why you don't get it? Because you
Why?
keep thinking that she's his partner. Brady doesn't have a partner. Men of that stature don't have a partner. They don't need anyone to achieve the level of
But we're
success.
not talking
That's
about
not her
what
point,
I'm not.
though.
My point is not. My point is
Hold
not just
on.
Brady. I'm
Hold
talking
on.
about on every level
Hold
of
hold on. Hold on.
economics.
Hold on. Men of that stature don't need anybody to become successful.
I
Elon Musk.
We're
understand.
not talking
I
about
said
him
that.
being
I said that.
successful.
I
We're
said that. I already said
she's
that.
talking
I
about
said
him
that he can
breaking
be.
the contract between them or the
You you know
agreement
why Brady
And
can do
between
now
that?
them.
as a woman, what I'm saying is now as a woman, because what I said, what men want or what men say they want is, somebody that's going to support them in what they want to do and how they want to do it. They decided to be
Mhm.
together. He decided that was going to be his helpmate. She decided that that was going to be her helpmate. So, and let's not even say, let's take Tom Brady out of this. Let's just say it was a regular family. I want to be the CEO of the company. I want to do this. I want to do this. And, it's working. We are jamming. It's working. It's working. I said, baby, look, I know I'm always on work trips. I know I'm always out of town. I know I can't always make the games. I know I can't always do carpool. But I promise you, when my company reaches Forbes list, when my company, reaches here, we're going to do this. So then we get to Forbes list, we get to the $1 billion company, and I'm like, yes, I get to have my husband. We get to go through all the motions of, you retiring, this being your last game. Now I'm excited. You're home with us. You're home with the kids. We go on our first family vacation together. I'm thinking life is gonna be good. I get to have my husband at home at night, and for days at a time, and all this other good stuff. And then and then it changes because you are still chasing your happiness as you should. But that is a fear that I think is embedded in a lot of women. When the time comes for me to get my part, you've already gotten all that you want. You've gotten the kids, you have the wife, you've had the support, and now that it's my time, I don't get that. So that's why I really, really, really feel that our modern families are not really getting to the point of success, longevity, success in the long run, because everybody is not keeping up with their side of the bargain.
You're never gonna you're never gonna have certain things. With this particular situation, you have an imbalance. Why? Because all the power and the decision making lies with Brady. In a traditional family, that's not the case. The reason why Brady has the power is because she's waiting for him. If we look at traditional families nowadays, women have the power. Why? Because at any moment they can decide to divorce and take the kids away from the man.
But that's what I'm saying, and that exactly, and you're absolutely right in what you're saying,
So,
and
but
and to
this is
change
why
that, but and that's where we run into the issue, and that's where the fear may come, because on the back end, if I say to you, and let's again take Brady out of it, because their lifestyle is completely different. But if we come up with a game plan and we say this is how this is going to work, I have done my part. I can't go back 15 years and take this all back. It's not fair to the woman who has kept up her side of the bargain, and for the man to go ahead and continue on to do what he wants to do. So now it brings up, or it should bring about, the understanding of why women nowadays are scared or fearful of being this way, or being that total support, or backing the team 100%, because there's no guarantee that you're going to come out on the other side and do exactly what you said you were going to do.
well let's
Which is
look at it like
why
this.
women should be self-sufficient in having financial security.
Let's look at it
Right.
like who runs the biggest who runs the biggest risk by getting married and having kids?
I think both
Woman,
parties. I think both parties equally run the risk, because I definitely know that as a man in your success, 9 times out of 10, it's cheaper to keep her. So I definitely think that men run that risk of, if I do leave, or if I do part from this, I'm gonna be ran dry. But that woman has gone through childbirth multiple times. She's given the best years of her life most of the time, and she can't get that back.
I agree, Shawnee. I know what you're saying.
I mean, I understand what she's saying too, and then when you equate all of this together, like I said, I think if we go back to the parallels of time, he always said he was trying to play till he was 45. He's
Hmm.
45
You
now.
what?
He said he was going to play until he was 45. He's 45. He's 45 now. But we, I mean, nobody could defeat Father Time like that, and we know that things are changing socially, physically. He's 45. He's like most of the people on his team. He could be their dad.
Right.
So it's a whole different dynamic. I just wish that they could have uh, rode off in the sunset together and said, you
Right.
know what, he doesn't have. I'm like, okay, I know how he is. He got a competitive nature. He was so close last year, whatever. Um, but then again, on the safety side of it too, when you look at it, there's a lot of football players that got CTE that shit just is crazy. We don't know how Tom is around the house. We don't know.
Mhm.
We don't know if he's if he's going through that right now when he had breaking devices and clipboards and stuff when he's getting angry on the sideline. We don't know if those that see we don't know. We just got certain information that we put out there, but I think in the long term of things, it's kind of hard when people are chasing that silver bullet. Like you still, if you look at a regular working person and they say, I didn't put in my time, I put in my 30 years, but then they say, man, I could do if I work 1 or 2 more years, I could get this, I
Mhm.
could get that, and meanwhile, your wife is like waiting for you to come on out of there. Like, okay, I'm ready for you to
Right.
come on out of that job because you said that we were going vacation, you said we were going to
Mhm.
do this and going to do that, but you like, oh man, if I can just get 1 or 2 more years in, where does the line? Where do we draw the line? And I guess
Yeah, where do
that's
we
the whole thing.
compromise? Where do
Yeah,
you say that, you know, my happiness is my happiness, but where do I consider this partner that's been riding with me for so long that, you know what? I know this is what I want, but I have the duty of being who I said I was going to be at this time, or being where I said I was going to be at that time. And I think women are more held to that standard than men are. And that is scary. It's truly scary to be in a position where you have to take the first risk. You have to sacrifice. And we're not talking about a bet, where we're betting $100, we're betting even 5 grand, and we know what's going to come back. But it's like I've made this 10 to 15 year, I don't know how long we were actually married, but I made this long
13 years.
term, I made this 13-year sacrifice based on what you told me it was going to be. 13 years later, I'm such and such age with how many other kids, and now I'm divorced. Not because I didn't do my part.
Yeah, and it's tough. And you know what? And maybe after that, he'll realize, like, damn, I should have just walked away. I mean, something has to be going through his mind right now. They're three and
And
five.
that's what I'm
You
hoping.
got a
And
losing
even when they
record.
said, yeah, I'm hoping, even though he said, it was something about, or her concern was depression. Yeah, because maybe that's what she wants. Maybe she's like, 13 years and I still don't get to be the wife that I want to be. And maybe that's her thought. And I just think that is a scary situation. While again, I do agree that everybody individually needs to find their happiness, but again, that's a scary, and I don't blame him for chasing his happiness, but it's like, damn, you didn't go with the game plan and you did not consider your partner. You didn't say she did this for me, so regardless of whether I have to, find happiness in this because the last 13 years she gave this to me, like, you didn't even try. Well, I can't say you didn't even try because of course we don't know the ins and outs of it, but dang, like,
So, which makes me think that it's probably some other deeper root causes to this. We just don't know that information. Stay tuned for the books that come out
right,
after, because I'm sure there'll be his version and there'll
her
be
version.
her version. But at the end of the day, it won't be like she's saying, "Oh, I'm gonna juice him and get this whatever," because she's worth 400, 500 million, and
Right.
maybe worth more than he is at this point, or similar. So they probably in the same ballpark as far as um,
Hmm.
finances. So that,
But
that
yeah, I
that's
don't
what
even
makes me.
think it's a financial thing for her. I think it's more so she wanted that family. She wanted that family, and I just think about it in that way. When you want that, or when you think that that's what you're getting, and that's the goal at the end, and you don't get it, that's a scary, scary place to be.
Yeah. But then on the opposite end, you wanted that family. Now what? That I don't know how old she is. I'm assuming she's probably in her 40s.
Mhm.
Now what? Are you looking? Do you think you are you looking to find it elsewhere, or do you say, or do they say, "Oh, Tom and Giselle was spotted again. I think they're back together." I don't know.
I
It's
hope
just
that is the case. I'm gonna be completely honest. I hope that although they are divorced, I hope they find a happy medium, and he kind of circles back and says, you know what, this is what happened and this is what was supposed to happen, and it's my turn to make the sacrifices. I'm hoping that is what ends up happening, and she's like, oh, I'm glad you came around, and okay, we can make this work. I'm hoping that is the case for them.
well, he don't have too much time left in football. If after this year, who knows how he's going, how the season's going to pan out. May not even make the playoffs. So then he can pack up his bags and go into the studio. And he's supposed to have a $275 million contract. I forgot for how many years, but that's that. And I know some people, if you're still tuning in, this, and you're probably wondering, okay, how did y'all get on this subject? But it all runs together. Even the initial point of women being career focused, and but we also, threw in
Hmm.
the element of them possibly, if they're looking to have children, and then they're looking to, if it's by a sperm donor, that option may not be available. So, which piggyback, and we went to the Tom Brady situation and their situation about being career focused, driven, and sometimes those things may end up you may end up in a result that you don't want to because you're so driven. And there's people who have those personalities. Like, man, I got 7 championships. I was so close to getting one more. One more. And does it really make a difference at this point? 7 or 8? Probably not. But according to him, it did. So we'll see. We're probably going to get ready to wrap this one up. We had another talking point, but we can bring that over. And I kind of knew, that's why I only put 2 on there. I knew that this um, sperm donor conversation was going to lead to other areas of discussion, and that's not a bad thing. It just, these conversations just keep evolving, evolving, and you'll see. I mean, got to be in it to connect it, to connect the pieces. Anybody got any closing comments on everything that was said?
What was the second talking point?
Second talking point kind of tied in where it was from a post also this past week, where it felt like, is it an age requirement for women when they say, I'm not going to support a man? Like, if he gets, loses his job, or his job shuts down, or he decides, you know what, I always wanted to go back to school for this, but I'm probably going to have to go down to part-time. Are women willing to support men? A lot of the comments were, oh, not at this age, he should have did that shit earlier. I'm not about to do that, not in my 40s, or whatever the case is.
We
But the
have time to talk about it.
but the expectations may be different. If it's a woman and it's a man, that he's supposed to automatically say, go ahead, baby, do your thing, I got you, and all that stuff. So that was going to be the next point, which
We got time.
we missing the key. We missing key individuals.
I think, yeah, I think we should save this talking point because I do think it's a good talking point.
Hmm.
Um, I also think, the overall thing is, it depends on the man. It depends who you are and who you have been in this relationship, and does it make sense for us? Because just like I said before, if you want to go to get your doctorates, or if you want to go to PA school, et cetera, you can't work while you're doing that. But is that going to put our family in a better position? And if it is, and we can afford it, why not?
Yeah. And
especially if you've held us down.
Hmm.
and I
I'm
heard the
all for supporting my man's goals.
and I heard
Like,
the point that you had made before, Shaughnessy. Like you do all this, and then the guy ends up getting this, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work out. He decides, oh, I got this now. Now he wants to go gallivant elsewhere, and you're like, wait a minute, I put everything on hold. I went into this my savings. I did this and that, so we can maintain. And now he got this job, and he decides he wants to go astray. It's scary.
Everybody, you have a place. You have everybody has a place or um a place in your life or a, I guess, everybody has a season in your life, and if that's something that that man decides to do, that is his burden and that's his karma to deal with. But that's why I also say it depends on the man,
Hmm.
because I'm not gonna just say, oh, we've been together for 2 years and I'm gonna support you through all of this. No, it doesn't go that way. If you present as a person that is worthy of support, whether we make it or not, because we can't guarantee anything. You could go to doctor, you can go to get your doctorates and be in medical school for 4 years, and I done blown my savings because the expectation is you becoming a doctor, and you get killed in a motorcycle crash or you get killed in a car accident. So we don't know what's going to happen on the end of this, but are you worthy of that support? Have you been that person to me? Or if I needed you to be that person for me, would you be that person for me so that I am comfortable supporting you in that way?
Yeah, so we'll hold that one over because it's a lot of other little questions
Hmm.
that come out of that. But for right now, let's get some closing comments on this first talking point.
I'd say men and women alike, establish yourself on your own. So, in the end, regardless of what happens, if you ride off into the sunset, if you guys do break up, if you have kids, everybody is self sufficient. So it doesn't become a money thing. It becomes what works for us as a family, because regardless, now we have ties together. So we're a family regardless. Everybody do what they need to do on their own. So they're not dependent, fully
All right,
dependent.
Anita.
mhm. I agree with Shaughnessy. Two people should be self sufficient. And from an anthropology standpoint, there's many definitions of what a family is, not just in our culture, but worldwide. So I feel like if you want a sperm donor, go get a sperm donor. If you want a surrogate, get a surrogate. It's not that complicated. People want to make it more complicated than it really is. It's not.
All right. And for me, when I look at that subject matter, I think the ultimate goal is eventually what makes you happy. But I think you have to
Mhm.
search deep down inside to realize to say, okay, I know that I'm going to want this at the end of this. You have to make it make sense. You have to do your research and understand, like in cases like this with this particular article, when you're 35 and 40 and you're a black woman and you say I want a black child, and you also looking at the actual physical live candidates that like, okay, that's a whole nother process to date someone and then get to that point. That may be a couple more years. So I want something fast and instant, and the pool is not available because, as Herb say, black men are pulling away from that. You have to think about the big picture and kind of map out everything and kind of do the pros and cons to what's going to work for you when you develop goals and plans. You always got to do pros and cons and have a list and kind of see if it makes sense for you. So just think about that. Not
With that.
And not just with this, but just with anything. Even if you think about, okay, I want to relocate somewhere, you got to think about the pros and cons and the impact it may have on doing it. You just can't make hasty decisions. And I think we live in a world of people making like hasty decisions, and then sometimes it comes back to bite you in your ass. So take your time and focus and look at the good and bad. And if the good outweighs the bad, then go with it. But if it's kind of
Mhm.
close, you might have to say, all right, I got to fall back on this there. Think about this a little, analyze this a little deeper. So, with that said, we out. Thanks to everybody who followed us in the chat. Always follow us in the Counselor's Corner. Uh, hey, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Subscribe to the the controversial counselor on YouTube. And hey, let's just keep having these conversations because I could guarantee each one of us learned something different about this particular subject matter tonight, and it just increases our knowledge base as well. All right,
Mhm.
folks, everybody enjoy your week.
Have a good
Stay safe
night.
and be well. And we're out.
Thanks for having me.
No
See
problem.
you next week.
All right, take care.
Happy Reformation Day. We
Same to
didn't
you.
talk about that. Too bad Herb ain't here.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll bring it up to him.
Hmm.
All right.